Hello and welcome to the Jackcast, your Swansea City podcast. I'm your host, Steve Carroll. Apologies that we didn't do an episode last week. As you're aware, there's just been so many games recently that it's been difficult to squeeze them in and to try and do them at a time where we can get them out before the next game and we're not out of date already. So it's Tuesday afternoon where I'm recording at the moment. And joining me this week is Andy Godden. Afternoon, Andy. Thanks for coming on.
All right, Steve, happy to be here. Oh, well, probably not after the last few games, but there we go.
Yeah, well, I think I think it was therapy last time when Stuart James joined me and we dissected what was going on at Swansea City, and I don't know if it's going to be quite as bad this time, but it's
Oh,
yeah, we've got three games to discuss: a win over Norwich, a loss to Man City in the cup, and a stalemate at Charlton the weekend. So we'll get into them, I think, first. But first of all, the Norwich game. I think it's probably fair to say that we needed a win, didn't we? We probably needed a performance as well. Don't really think we got that, if I'm honest. But we did get a win, largely thanks to what can only be described as two worldies, really, from Zam Vipotnik, wasn't it? I mean, his shot is something else, isn't it? I was trying to discuss it with a couple of mates afterwards about players with hard shots, and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank sprung to mind. And I mean, you wouldn't want to get in the way of one of Vipotnik's shots after that, would you? But it wasn't really just the power, was it? It was the accuracy, particularly of the first one. I mean, they were two brilliant goals. And when we get to the end of the season, I think they'll both be contenders, won't they, for our goal of the season?
well, he's just massively on form at the moment, isn't he? And, it seems like he's scoring every chance he gets, pretty much, which, it's a great trait for a striker. Not sure, probably not too sustainable, which is another story if we look at the rest of the season. But I know, I think both goals, I think, confirmed a couple of things, didn't they? He's playing incredibly well at the moment, and took them both incredibly well. But also, I mean, he was up against Harry Darwin both times, and no, I used to argue with Swans fans last season about how good Harry Darwin is as an actual defender. So I didn't shed many tears when he went in the summer, and I think he kind of showed why in that game, because I think both times he just stood off with Botnick. And I mean, you give that man time at the moment, and then you say his shot is deadly, he's so powerful. And I think the first chance, he was running away from goal a little bit, but he just absolutely latched it past the keeper. It was keeper's side, but there's no keeper in the world who's stopping that. It's absolutely unstoppable. But the second one, I think that really sort of brought home how well he's playing, really, because I think he was up against a couple of defenders in that one. He was miles away from goal, and he didn't have the pace to get past anyone, really. But he just sort of thought, well, solid, I'll have a shot then, and he did, and absolutely buried it. It was absolutely brilliant. But as you say, I mean, we didn't create a lot in that game, did we? And I think we had two. I think we only had three shots on goal, on target in the entire game. Two of those were those goals. I think we only had four shots in the entire game that weren't blocked, which, that's pretty poor, isn't it? So we are so relying on Novotny at the moment, because without him taking every chance he gets, we're just not scoring, are we? But we won 2-1. I mean, Norwich, they had more of the ball, they had better chances than us, but at the end of the day, football's about winning, isn't it? And with Botnick on the pitch, we've got every chance at the moment.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we are very reliant on him, aren't we? I mean, the second goal probably sums it up a lot, because the main reason he took a shot is because there was literally nothing on, was there? There was no like support, nothing. And it was a ludicrous place to shoot from generally. I mean, usually you'd be thinking, oh God, why are you shooting from there? But with the form that he's in at the moment, then obviously it's great for us, and it's gone in and a much needed win, really. But as you say, I mean, those stats about lack of shots and creating chances, I mean, it's worrying, isn't it? I mean, I felt we started the game quite well, probably better than we have done for a while. And then just after the first goal, Yorma's got himself in on a one-on-one, and then he's mucked it up, hasn't he? I mean, that was a big chance, we didn't even end up having a shot from that. But I think what was disappointing was we let the opposition back into the game then, when the mentality should have been, let's kill them off. And obviously, we're facing a team that's very low on confidence. Norwich have not had a good start to the season. The manager's under a lot of pressure, but they'll be frustrated, really, that they didn't get anything off us, wouldn't they? I mean, their performances warranted it, didn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. And I think, Norwich obviously are in real trouble at the moment. You'd be difficult to see how much longer he's going to be staying. in charge there. I mean, I know they lost at home to Hull on the weekend, and the crowd were calling for his head. Now, once that happens, the genie generally doesn't come back on the bottle, does it? So I think he's probably going to be going sooner rather than later. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they should have won, or they shouldn't have lost. I mean, they had better chances than us. They had more shots than us. They'll be very frustrated with that. But I mean, I think the theme of our games generally, I mean, two games aside lately, is that we do tend to start all right, and then we slip after that. Now whether that's because we put so much into the start, or we're on at the start and we slip and we're just not a 90-minute team, or is it fitness? I don't know what it is, but quite often we start a game well, and this is another example of us doing that. But after that, I mean, I think Hull was another one, but after that, we don't. And we do tend to drop off a cliff a little bit. Teams always come back into the game. We're just not a 90-minute team. So yeah, it did feel like that was going to happen inevitably anyway. But yeah, I mean, going back to Orme, I think he's way off form at the moment, isn't it? It's a real shame, I think, because at the back end of last season, I mean, he's playing really well. I mean, that goal against Oxford in the final game of the season, absolutely worldy. But he just completely dropped off a cliff this season. I don't think, and he's not alone in that, is he? So, I mean, you do wonder why that is. Is it because, this is his level, that was kind of an outlier? Or, I mean, is it, change of tactics in the summer? Is it just, is it the manager, etc.? But yeah, I mean, he's not performing at the moment. And I think that goes for a lot of the players at the moment, really, isn't it? I mean, if you look around the park, there aren't any players you're thinking, oh, they playing really well, apart from the likes of
But there is
Pivotnik
one,
or
Lawrence
Vigouroux.
Vigouroux, which says it
Yeah,
all.
right, exactly. And I think, but if you look at, I like my stats. I mean, I do mock the XG news a little bit, but I mean, if you look at them, we are outperforming our XG from a defensive perspective. A lot of that is due to Lawrence Vigouroux. I don't think it's only him. I mean, how many games this season has Ben Camango made, a miracle block or a cleared one off the line or whatever it is? It almost feels like it happens every game. Not much in the last couple of games, granted, but I think before then it seemed to be happening on a frequent basis. So I think, I think if you look at Vigouroux, you look at Cabango, and I think Burgess to a degree. I think defensively, we've done quite well, but it just feels at the other end, we're just not creating anything, are we? And we are relying on Vibotnik basically pulling worldies out every game.
Yeah, which is not sustainable, in my opinion. I don't see how we're going to get away with that long term. I actually think defensively we haven't been as good recently. I think we were decent at the start of the season, but I think there was a start a couple of weeks back where we'd given up the most chances over a 6 week period in the 92. And I mean, again, that's not sustainable, is it? But yeah, our goalkeeper has bailed us out on a few occasions. But look, moving forward, then we obviously we had Man City in the cup in the midweek. A little break from the league. It was great to see the stadium full. It was quite interesting. Was it? Did seem like a very different type of crowd. Really, I mean, I was there wasn't a huge amount of people I recognised while I was fanzine selling. There was a lot of kids, which as far as I'm concerned, is a good thing. I think for youngsters. I mean, anyone under 14 really probably doesn't remember the Premier League days. So they may not have had a chance to see us face one of the big teams. So I think for them, it probably captured the imagination. And with the way the game went, I could see that long term attracting new fans. So I think that has to be a good thing. When you look at like the Cardiff game, for example, when that sells out, it's mainly full of blokes, should we say, who are up for getting behind the team and making it an atmosphere that everyone remembers. Where it didn't feel quite like that on the midweek, but look, they're both good in their own way. But I've got to say, the first few minutes, particularly probably the first half hour, probably the best we've done all season. We really got in their faces, didn't we? And when we got the lead, I felt that it was as deserved, and it was a great finish from Franco, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, it's that 30-minute cliff edge, isn't it? Quite often we start well, we play well. I mean, and no, I think we absolutely did. No, I think, we played a sort of 5-3-2 a little bit in that game as well, didn't we? And I think, I mean, Josh Key, for example, I think he played quite well, and I think he set up the goal, didn't he, for Franco, which I must admit, that's twice this season. I don't think Franco had it in him. to score a goal like that. But it was an absolute sublime. And if you watch the replay of it, you know, it started well outside the goalie's left hand post and just clipped it in on the way in. It's an absolutely beautiful goal. But I know we were more than deserving of the lead at that point, and as you say, up to the 30th minute. But you know, I think this isn't your normal game, is it? You know, we're playing Man City, still one of the best clubs in the world ultimately. And while they made a lot of changes, I think every single one of those players would get into any team in the Championship, wouldn't they? And most of the Premier League, absolutely exceptional talents. So it was only ever a matter of time before they would come into the game. They would start. They would, or their players would start, you know, showing more than they had. So that was inevitable. But I think, you know, if we look at the first half, I think we played played really well. And yeah, I mean, I think as you say, the crowd were up for it as well. I mean, yeah, will those people come back for the next game against Ipswich next week? We'll find out. I mean, I think there's always a degree of tourism, isn't there, when it comes to these big games. But you know, if it attracts a couple hundred of those to come back again, absolutely brilliant. But you know, it was just nice to see a full stadium again, wasn't it? You know, it was back to, you know, maybe 5, 6 years ago, you know, when we were still in the Premier League or when we just come back down, where that was the norm. And you know, it hasn't been lately. But you know, great to see it. And I think the players thrive over that, don't they? You know, a full stadium, the crowd behind you. That's what the players need. And you know, for 30 minutes, as you say, it was there. But then I think their players took over a bit. But what I would say though is I think, and then maybe this is a common thing, is that in the second half we didn't really lay glove on them or even tried to, really, did we? We sat back, and I know we were holding on for dear life to try and hold on that equaliser, but and maybe we just simply couldn't do it. But this happens more and more for me, is that, you know, we do seem to regress into ourselves in the second half, especially if we've got something to play, you know, something to hold on to. So I think that was kind of, you can argue that Sheehan returned to type a little bit with that, although I do think in the circumstances, maybe that's just what we had to do. I don't know how you feel about that.
I think where my frustration is, I actually thought we did really well defensively. Like, I give an example, the Southampton game. I think Sheehan tried to argue we did well defensively. We did not.
Did
They
not.
carved us open at will, and our goalkeeper bailed us out a lot, and Southampton's finishing was terrible. Whereas in this game, City didn't have a huge amount of shots, did they? If you know what I mean. Certainly not good quality chances. So I felt it was difficult for them to play through us. So I've got to give us that. The frustration I've got was it really did feel like the only plan was right, sit deep, frustrate. Hopefully they miss, keeper saves, and then
Yeah,
wait for it to come back. Whereas
yeah.
the plan surely's got to be something like when Ronaldo comes on. I mean, he's not going to offer a huge amount defensively, for example. So you've got to try and use him as an outball, surely, to try and get you up the pitch and relieve pressure. But it didn't seem like there was any sort of plan like that. And I just think you can't just basically wait for them to score. It's a little bit naive. I think you've got to try and get out on occasion. So that would be my criticism. But we did make it hard for them. I mean, look, Sheehan's a coach that doesn't really want to play with the ball, and City obviously do. So it probably suited him quite well to just to try and frustrate, really. So that's partly why I think his game plan worked. But I've got to say that I do think going to five at the back did make sense. And it was a strange selection, but some of the players that came in, I've got to say, did do quite well. So, you know, fair play to them on that sense. And obviously, Waddell came in, and I suppose if his goal goes in, you do never know. But I mean, we're all scarred, weren't we, by the one with Graham Potter, where we were essentially robbed and we were two up there. So I'm not convinced it would have changed the outcome completely, but it certainly would have made it more interesting if that had gone in. But you know, generally, I think I have to say that I thought we did better in that game than I thought we would have done. So I do have to you know, say that. And it was a game I enjoyed. I mean, I haven't enjoyed a huge amount of games recently. I've got to, you know, I can't lie about that because I just feel we've been so limited and poor. But I do think at least in this game we did show something. And, you know, because of the opposition, you do know you're going to be under the cosh far more than usual. And you're more willing to accept it. I think the difference is we're not really willing to accept being under the cosh to the teams that we think we're capable of going toe to toe with. That's the issue, isn't it?
Well, you know, this is an outlier, isn't it? You know, you can't treat this as a norm. So, in a second, ultimately we were always going to be under the cosh. So it was all about, making sure you were strong defensively. I would have liked to have seen a bit more progression, absolutely. And we should have been using a couple as more options forward, so more attacking options and maybe quicker options, absolutely. But I think I think we were close. I think it was only the last 15, 20 minutes before they actually broke through. And the good thing, of course, with the League Cup is that it would have gone straight to penalties if we'd gone through. So yeah, I don't think we get too hung up about it. And I think if we're looking for positives, I think Casey. I know he's not our player, but a centre half. I think he played really well, and I think more than deserved his then starting the next league game. I think I was a bit surprised, Cabango didn't play. I think he would have been, I think he would have, he's probably our best pure defender, isn't he? So that would have been
It
good.
seems
But
like
I was,
Burgess plays every single game, doesn't it? And you think that obviously he
yeah,
goes in internationals as well, and his country is not exactly close, is it? It's
yeah,
amazing. He just plays every game.
yeah, the Scottish Aussie, absolutely. So, but I
Yeah.
know Cabango didn't really have a pre-season, so maybe they're still managing that a little bit. I don't know,
Yeah, so
but
it's not so much a criticism. It's more the thing of you think this player would need to be taken out a bit more. And yeah, Burgess he's always in, isn't he?
yeah. But I like the Chelsea kid on left back. I think he played really well. He looks like he's more than comfortable coming in if Timon gets injured. I mean, obviously Timon's first choice. It would be nice if we had a similar option at right back, because it's no secret that Josh Key's had some struggles this season. Um, I'd probably not help Ronald in front of him, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think it'd be good if I don't know whether he can also play right back or not, but that might be an option worth looking at unless we
Well,
bring one of the
Ronaldo at
Parkers
right
in.
back.
No, no, God, no.
I was
So no, I
thinking,
mean,
eh? Good
so,
God.
no, no,
I think Sam Parker actually deserves a
yeah,
chance in one of the home games, if I'm honest, because
yeah,
why not? Because the other truth is, you've got to be realistic here. You can't expect Key and Timon to play every single game, can we?
no,
Especially because, this period again, 7 games in 22 days or whatever it is. And then again, when we come back off the international break, I think there's a midweek game, then there's a week off, then there's another midweek game. It's just relentless, isn't it?
of course, yeah. And you mean if they're in the squad, you've got to hope they're good enough, absolutely. And you've got, I mean, the only way you'll truly find out is if you play them. And there's been times in the past he's come on, he's done well. So no, you've got to see what Sam Parker can do. I think Art Parker, I think pre-season looked the business. So it'd be nice to see him get a bit more game time as well. So I think there are. I think that we got to try these things because I think Josh Key's not been brilliant this season. I think but actually stats wise, so I was having before we start this podcast, I was having a look at some of the stats, and actually, so Key in an attacking sense, he's been getting quite a few pelters, but he's probably one of our better players in terms of getting the ball forward, carrying the ball forward. He's far and away our most highest player in terms of the progressive carry stats. And in terms of passes as well, he's quite high as well. I mean, it's only Timon and Galbraith that are ahead of him. So I think attacking wise, he's probably even better than some people think. We'll probably talk about the Charlton game in a bit and his miss. But I think attacking wise, he's all right, but defensively, he's really struggled. So I think, it'd be good to see maybe how some of the kids can maybe replace him at right back for sure. But no, I think
Yeah.
there's a few players who did well on the Man City game, but I think, as you say, the real test is the Championship, isn't it? And Norwich wasn't great in that score, and that's been the case for a few games now, isn't it?
Yeah, it has. And I mean, if we're going to be honest, Charlton probably wasn't great either, particularly that first half. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a hard watch, to say the least, wasn't it? And then obviously on just after half time, we've conceded. Yeah, I mean, I got to say, we did do better after that. It felt, to be honest, it was as if the opposition backed off really, and they almost did what we do after a goal. They didn't really look to go forward a huge amount then, and as a result, obviously, we had to have a bit of a go with them and look better. But I think some of my frustration was that I've seen the team sheet. I didn't think it was a bad idea to go to 5 at the back, if I'm honest, because I was looking at it thinking if we don't, then are we going to have a situation where it's Galbraith? And then obviously with Franco, no Stamenic at the moment. Obviously condolences to him for the loss of his father. Yolkoué banned. So I was thinking, does that mean Fulton's going to come in or Cullen's going to come in as an 8? And I was just thinking, that really wouldn't be what we need. I mean, I was hoping that we would go with Waddell, and then maybe a Noosa and I guess Ronaldo. But I was thinking we could go with Noosa and Waddell behind Vipotnik, obviously, who was injured in the end, and Eder ended up playing. But I was thinking we could do the same as what we did really for the Man City game, and that would work better than bringing Fulton or Cullen in, certainly in a deeper role. And but yeah, in came Yorm and Ronaldo, and straight away I was thinking, there's our goal threat gone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was an interesting formation. I'll say that. I mean, I'm not against three centre halves playing. I think if you look at Tymon and Kea's players, I think they're far better suited to being wing backs than full backs. So I'm not against it from that perspective. I mean, if we were going to play just a normal four at the back, you'd see Galbraith starting, you see Franco starting, so we still got a lot of quality there. Do I want Cullen ever playing an eight? No. Do I think there's anyone else? Oh, Widdell, would I like to see more of him? Absolutely. But what I would really like to see if we're playing four at the back is we actually play sort of a similar system to how we've done in the past, where we have a sitting midfielder, we have an eight and we have a number 10. Somebody can play a number 10 role. That does bring Cullen into the conversation, or maybe not in the form he's in at the moment. But I think if we look at Widdell, I think that more advanced position. I think I'm told that was very much his position in Denmark. That's where he's played a lot of that in the past. So you'd hope to see that, or generally I'd like to see a lot of Waddell. Yeah, so when you saw the formation, I thought it's almost like 3-4-3, wasn't it, or 3-6-1 or whatever it was. But I think when you see sort of and Ronaldo playing almost as inside forwards, I don't, especially in the case of I really don't see that as his position. But so it was an odd one. Naturally, you would have thought Inusa would have been a better fit instead of starting that game, because he seems to be more suited to that position, really. I think Ronald, yeah, you could see it, but it just didn't make any sense to me. But I think no, I mean, not against Sheehan trying these things, but I think that first half it didn't really work, did it? Although, to be honest, with you after the first minute when on got in behind, and thanks to defensive error, and then sort of taken out, going when he was not, I wouldn't say through on goal, but he was the most advanced attacker. Then it may have worked if the ref were being kind and giving us a red card. I mean, I didn't think it was a red card offence. It was certainly a foul, but he did sort of put the ball quite a bit further away. I think the keeper would have got it before him anyway. But I think, yeah, I mean, if that had gone our way, then we could have been here saying a very different thing. But I think that was pretty much the only thing Om did all game. And as you say, that first half went pretty abysmally. But I mean, in terms of Charlton doing a Swansea almost, after they scored. I mean, just look at the respective managers, don't you? Nathan Jones and Sheehan are friends. I think they've got a very similar mindset to football, and they scored their goal at the start of the second half, and they sat back a little bit, which I think kind of suited us really, because we then look to get more on the front foot a little bit. So yeah, I think obviously Nathan Jones and Sheehan are good friends, aren't they? But I think, yeah, I mean that goal.
Terrible taste.
I know, yeah. But I think you got to look at that Casey for that goal, haven't you? I think that was a quite a big error, letting it bounce, and he was just completely wrong-footed then, wasn't he? After that.
Yeah, it was a shame for Casey because I actually didn't think he had a bad game, but obviously that has happened. But I still think he's worth persisting with. For me, he's better on the ball than both Burgess and Cabango. So
Yeah.
certainly, if you're going to play a back three, we need someone on there that can play the ball a bit. And I'd like to see more. I think I'd like to see him keep his place, but I guess we'll see. I mean, we were definitely better in the second half. I think, like I say, it's partly down to the opposition backing off. I think, but he did take his goal really well. Yeah, we didn't create a huge amount. Obviously, there's that chance right at the end, isn't there, from Josh Key, where he really does need to do better. But yeah, I think it was probably a fair result. I think we didn't do enough to win the game. Really, I just don't think we hurt them enough. That's the problem. Even though they did back off and not really show a lot, that was the frustration really. But I mean, what did you make of Nathan Jones's comments after? Because I'm going to have to call him out on this. I have online already, but saying that was the best performance he's had against the Swansea team. And I was thinking to myself, do you remember when you were Stoke manager and Dan James got two of your players sent off and we gave you basically a hiding. I was just thinking, "Oh, come on now, you've got to be realistic about these things. That's not a night the manager forgets when you get reduced to 9 men. It's like he's just sticking up for his mate, really. I mean, do you think the same thing?
That's exactly what he's doing. So
I mean,
absolutely.
he probably wants his mate to stay in a job, and he also probably doesn't want us to do great. That's my instinct.
Yeah, look, whether the last bit's true or not, we can only speculate about the Cardiff fan, Nathan Jones. But it's I mean, at the end of the day, we had I think we had 2 shots on target all game. We had XG of 0.71. That's not a dominant performance in anyone's book. I mean, should Josh Key have scored with that chance? When that 0.71 XG is probably Josh Key's chance, isn't it? But, I mean, he should have scored. Absolutely. I mean, there were a couple of last-ditch blocks, granted, but he's got to do better than that, and he'll know it the way he had his head in his hands for about 2 minutes after it. But no, just you mentioned Ida there, and I think he took his goal so well. I think the came from KC, but he took it immediately on a half turn and just slotted from 20 yards in the bottom corner and off the post. I mean, absolutely brilliant goal. I mean, he's not showed anything of that really to date, but that probably does show there's a player there, and that's something because Robotnik's form can't last forever the way it is in the moment. So you need options up front. And it seems, fingers crossed, we got 2 decent ones after that. So no, I think, and that'll be great for his confidence as well. Because we've seen Robotnik's confidence just soar after a couple of goals, haven't we? So that'll do either the world of good. Well, we don't know how Robotnik's injury is at the moment. Is it a serious one or not? So I mean, if he's out for a few games, this is Ida's chance, isn't it? And he's obviously a big money signing, so I hope he backs it up. But I mean, it's the age-old problem for us, isn't it? We don't create chances. I mean, that wasn't really a chance. Really, it was a quarter chance, if anything, and he's kind of made it all himself. And yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. We looked better when Anusa and Waddell came on, but what do we genuinely create with them? Not a lot. And so I think, I'd like to see him get more game time, absolutely. But we got to look at the way we've set up. We got to look at what we're doing in terms of, our ability to create chances. Because I think in terms of chances created, I think if you look at XG generally, and our stats in an attacking sense, we are bottom three across the board, and we've got to be better than that if we want to. But playing devil's advocate a little bit, I know we can point to Sheehan tactics but as a reason for that, and I think there's certainly some valid questions there. We've got to ask, do we have the creative players in the squad? I mean, if we look at the players we brought in the summer, I mean, Galbraith aside, I mean, I think the boy's going to be a star. There isn't a lot of creativity there, and their stats from a creative sense, they aren't the highest in previous seasons. In different competitions. Granted, I do worry we just don't have the creativity or the goal threat across the squad. But I think we can certainly do better than that. And I think, yeah, as you say, I think we've got to be looking at some of the players that came in. I think they definitely made a good case for them starting in the next game.
Yeah, I think absolutely. There's plenty to discuss there, isn't there? And I think what we'll do is we'll wrap up this as part one, and then we'll get into it a little bit more in the second part. So yeah, stay tuned. So we were just talking then, really, about obviously the major issue at the club at the moment on the pitch is in terms of creating chances, and we're bottom for all the metrics, as you said, aren't we, Andy? I mean, for XG, for shots on target, chance creation, big chances, all these things. I mean, they are, if you're bottom maybe for one of them, you're looking and going, right, we need to improve a little bit, but you can't argue with it when every metric basically says you're the worst in the division going forward. It's very difficult then, isn't it, to look for positives there. I mean, something fundamentally has to change. And I mean, from my point of view, I don't think this manager can turn it round. I think that this just is him. I mean, I look at the presentation at the beginning of the season, and it was all about off the ball stuff rather than us with the ball, and that's not really a Swansea team from my point of view. And I just don't see what the plans are. We don't look like a team that is looking at patterns of play or anything like that. It's it very much feels as if it's up to the players to try and create something. And Vipotnik obviously has bailed us out a few times, but something's got to change. I mean, Yes, we can change personnel a little bit and maybe change formations. So you think Waddell needs a bit of a run in the team and play him at 10 and see if that makes a difference. I mean, I look at Benson and think, yes, maybe he hasn't looked brilliant so far and his fitness doesn't look the best. But you've got to try and work on that to try and get him into the team because surely, based on what's happened in the past, someone like him is going to offer far more than maybe what some of the other players that are playing at the moment are doing. So I think that's where I'm looking at it, and we've got to be looking to get on the ball more and looking to on the front foot, playing more progressively. And I don't think we're going to do that under this manager, and that's why I just think we need somebody to come in that has far more of an idea. This I don't think Sheehan is capable of it. I think he's a limited coach. Like the Man City game suited him well, but I don't think we've looked like a well coached team in many other games this season, and we're giving up far too many chances at the other end. I think the reason we're not lower mainly is down to the goalkeeper, really. So, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with a lot of that, to be honest with you. I think, am I a fan of Alan Sheehan? Not really, to be honest with you. Would I have appointed him permanent manager in the first place? I'm not sure I would have. I think he did make a very compelling case last season. Maybe made it to the point where the club just had no choice but to give him the job. Which that's fair enough. I think what I would say is that there's a lot of noise about him at the moment. I know some fans are calling for his head. I think if you're in the business of chopping managers at the start of November, I think you get yourself into trouble there, unless it's untenable. Which I think we've seen the Southampton managers going. I think the Norwich manager's probably on this very sticky wicket there. He hasn't already gone. Um, it does seem there's a lot of noise with a lot of clubs this season, probably more so than ever. And whether that's just because a lot of clubs are in turmoil, or whether social media kind of drives or what, I don't really know. But I think there's a lot of noise, isn't there? Obviously, um, I think it's clear something needs to change. I think this whole twin eight thing where we'll have one sitting midfielder and then two sort of more advanced, slightly more advanced than that. I know Stuart in the last pod said pretty much the same thing. The formation needs to change. In the middle, I think we've been saying the same since the start of the season, haven't we? This sort of structure of the midfield just doesn't work, in my opinion. Not with the personnel we got, because whoever's going to be those two more advanced ones, they're just not creative enough ultimately. And I think we just kind of get stuck there. So I think that there needs to be a tweak where we play more more focal point number 10 there behind the striker. I would love to have that opportunity, because I think he's shown in the last couple of games he's at least trying to do something there. Um, it hasn't been He had a couple of shots. I mean, I'm not sure it's quite a compelling case yet, but I think you've just got to give him an opportunity, because there's nobody else really putting a hand up at the moment. I'd like to, I think Orm just seems to have dropped off a cliff, so I think you've got to give Venusa a run there. Ideally, you'd swap Ronaldo for somebody, but I am shocked by Benson's lack of fitness. He just seems like he came on against Man City, he was out of breath in 2 minutes. Yeah, playing world class players, granted, but you expect a better baseline fitness there, don't you? And I think the thing that worries me about Benson as well is that he doesn't strike me as a team player as well. I think I can't remember which game he came on, was it Leicester maybe? But he just he just seemed to be doing his own thing, and it didn't really work for him. So I think really need to get him up to speed in some way, get him running laps or whatever it is, or playing for the under 23s for a couple of games, just get something going. Because I think there's a few players that you'd like to change, but then when alternatives come on, they've done even less. So yeah, so no, I think there's two parts for me. One, yeah, I think Sheehan needs to change tactics. I think, as you say, we're not creating anything, and I think that defensively we are struggling more than we have been, and that's always the worry, isn't it? While you're not conceding and you're not scoring, they kind of balance each other out, but one of them inevitably goes before the other one, and for us, it's our defense. And attacking wise, we don't seem to be improving just yet. So yeah, it I think that this could spiral. Absolutely. I don't think it's there yet at the moment. Do I have confidence it will change? Not a lot. But it's yeah, we have to get for me, we have to give Sheehan a chance to do it. Because as you said, there is a break coming up in 2 weeks for the international break. Yeah, so there's a lot of games on the side of that. We got to see how it goes. Probably for the next month or two, and then make a decision when it's a natural break. Then maybe the start of January. But I'd give him the chance at the moment. I don't know. Would you get rid now?
Um, I I think doing this little break now, unless we see an improvement in the next couple of games, I think we need to make the change. That's my instinct really on it. Is that you can't be bottom of all these metrics, and then I'm seeing no sort of improvement. Yeah, results maybe don't necessarily completely reflect that, but you can't legislate for having a striker against Norwich who scores two ridiculous goals. So that's nothing to do with the manager. It's just a striker being ridiculously good at something. So I think we need to see an improvement now. For me, I'm the type of person that believes performances will lead to results, and I'm not seeing performances. So if you haven't got that, you haven't got anything really. I mean, it's fine winning ugly now and again if that's what you have to do, but when that's your like baseline, I just don't think it's sustainable. I think we need a clear style of play that needs to be far more on the front foot. And I before we came on air, we talked. Graham Potter got mentioned. There's a lot of games that year, right, where we didn't win that we should have won, but you just felt we were on like the right track. I just feel like this is not the right track at all. I think we're
Oh,
going backwards, and I think that if we had Andy Fisher in goal, I think there's a fair chance that we would be in the bottom three. So I just don't. I think we need to change. I think we've wasted it. Well, by the next break now, we will have wasted enough time, and we'll come on to discuss it in a sec now. But the next two games do look quite tricky to me. I don't think we're going to win either of them, and then that will build more pressure. I think that the pressure has started to come online more than at the games, but I think before Vipotnik got the second goal against Norwich, the crowd was starting to turn, and I was at the Valley on Saturday, and I felt like the same thing was happening before Casey passed the ball into Ida and he turned and shot and scored. So it just feels like it's bubbling, it's there, but then we'll get a goal and it's died down a little bit. So, but that tells you it's going to come at some point unless we see a change. So I I think that I would make a change. I think that the club have looked in the Swedish division, I think, previously for a manager. They were certainly looking before Sheehan had it, and the Swedish season ends this weekend coming, which I think is a bit of a coincidence. So I think we could see it if if they were sold on someone from there before and they didn't do it or whatever, then it feels like if they're going to do it, then this really is the moment to do it. So I think that we could see a change, but it will depend on the next two games. I mean, we've got Preston tomorrow night first. I mean, they're a team above us in the table. I mean, I have to be honest, like I've said, I'm not particularly optimistic going there. I don't know about you.
I'm never particularly optimistic, but it's no. I think Preston are they're doing really well at the moment. We don't have the best record up there, do we? I don't think, but
I
I
can
think we've
remember
got
when Boda scored that ridiculous goal. I was actually there that night. Can't
yeah
remember too many other wins there. There's been a couple of draws. But
yeah
yeah, like you say, our record there's not the best, is it? Obviously, apart from the ultimate victory, which was what
oh, of course.
44 years ago.
Absolutely. No, that means so. And they're on form. I wouldn't rule it out. I think it's we went to Blackburn and we won there. I think this is a similar game in a very similar place. I think Preston are in better form, but then Blackburn went to Leicester on the weekend and won. So I think we got a chance for sure. But it depends whether we can turn a 90-minute performance, isn't he? Or we can turn a 30-minute performance in the right way and then score a couple of goals doing it. So no, I think we got a chance. They are in decent form. I think they've had some decent results as well. So I think that they won at Southampton on the weekend. So which means they had one more shot than we did at least. So yeah, no, I think it's probably one of our tougher ones, as you say. They're probably one of our natural competitors, I'd say. Similar clubs, similar budget, similar crowd levels. But they doing better than us at the moment for sure. But yeah, no, I think it'll be tough. But and we're probably not favourites, are we? But no, we got to
No,
fancy your chances. But
I think
what's the
the
team
frustration
like?
comes from me. Like, you said they beat Southampton, and I'm thinking we went to Southampton with no intention of having a go with them. And
Yeah.
they're a team
Oh,
that haven't won many games. They've just sacked the manager. And,
yeah.
our mentality was to not bother. And that's
No.
what annoys me. I just feel like if I'm honest, I think this league is really poor this year. I can't
Yeah.
think of hardly anybody really who's impressed me. And yeah, I feel like we're not having a go at anybody, and that's what I don't like at all.
The irony is, if you look at the stats, Southampton were doing quite well, apart from putting the ball in the actual net. And maybe their game against us skewed it completely because, as you
Yeah,
say,
that is true. I've noticed that.
yeah, it was 0-0, not because of anything we did, it's because they missed open goals. So that's all it was. But yeah, no, absolutely. But no, I mean, going back to Preston, there's no, they're the sort of team we should be doing well with. And, I guess depends what Sheehan does. Does he give the likes of Inusa and Waddell, which probably look some of the better form players, a run? Will he change the formation or will it be more of the same? We'll find out tomorrow, won't we? But well, maybe yeah, well, fingers crossed we get a win there. I think maybe with a smaller crowd there, obviously not many fans will be able to get up there on a Wednesday night, especially in this weather. But maybe when the pressure's off, we might turn the performance. I mean, we've done it before, so fingers crossed.
Well, let's hope so. And then after that, we've got Ipswich at home. Now, I think they
Mm,
were certainly my favourites for promotion at the start of the season. Probably haven't done as
yeah.
well as they would like, but they have started to come into form. I think it's 16 points from their last 8 games. So obviously that is, if you're averaging 2 points a game, you're going to be right up there. And this is going to be a tough game, isn't it? I would have thought. I mean, you would expect them to come down here and have a go with us. And yeah, it's I think from that game, I certainly think anything if we avoid defeat, it would be a good point probably to take, wouldn't it? But again, I'm looking for more than that. Really, we're looking for a performance, even if not necessarily a result. But this is going to be one of our tougher tests, certainly at home this season, isn't it? You would have thought.
I mean, you'd think the teams getting relegated will be our toughest opponents, absolutely, and I think that'll probably still be the case. Ipswich's record, yeah, I mean, I think it's picked up, but they've only had one away win, haven't they? So I think that was actually the last one up against QPR, who they did give an absolute thrashing to. Don't get me wrong, but a couple of games ago they lost to Charlton. Charlton are nothing really. So I mean, we've got to go into it with the right mentality, haven't we? But we'll find out whether we do or not. So I wouldn't say that we can't get anything from that. Yeah, I think, as you say, I think these are two tough games coming up. I think we'll definitely see where we are, and if we get a couple of Tompkins, or as you say, if the performance isn't there, then I think that's an entirely different thing. I mean, just on that performance thing, I always like what Roberto Martinez used to say when he was manager. He said, "You get the performances right, the results will take care of themselves," and he's right. They will, and performances aren't there at the moment. I think that's probably the hope for these two games, isn't it? Can we get the performance there? Can we actually get a threat, a goal? Can the players come in and can we actually, take the game to the opponents? Can we actually create some chances? Even if we miss them, it'd be nice just to create them. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think, as you say, two tough games. I think Ipswich will be tough. They have disappointed me, to be honest with you. I thought they would be a lot better than where they are, but they are coming up on the rails a little bit now. I think it's 3 points away from the playoffs, but then we're not a million miles either. But yeah, as you say, it's such an average championship this season. I've been shocked with it. I know Coventry have been scoring a lot of goals, more than anyone by some distance. But I watched their game against Wrexham, and I thought they were two poor sides, to be honest with you. And I mean, I think Kiefer Moore will always have a game where he'll win everything in the air, and that was just one of those. I thought Coventry were very average, and if they're the standout team in the division, then yeah, it is there for the taking. And I guess that's probably why I think frustration levels across the championship, but particularly with us, are probably where they are, aren't they? It's because it is such an average division, and we're an average team in it and current form.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you look at the Premier League at the moment. I mean, you'd have to say it's highly likely that Wolves are going to come down, and it's West Ham haven't started great either. Let's say, for example, those two come down. It's going to be very hard, well, significantly harder than this year, you would think. I mean, there would be two established teams coming down after a long period, and you wouldn't see them struggling in the way that the promoted teams have, or the relegated teams, I should say, have
Yeah.
struggled so far this season. So I think it does feel like this is a chance for quite a few teams, I would say, to possibly get in the Premier League. Whereas the last few years, it certainly felt like the parachute teams have dominated, and the other teams have had to be content with nicking a playoff spot, and even then have struggled to have a chance of going up. But this year does feel like an opportunity for quite a few teams, and think that's the frustrating thing, really, is that we're not showing any signs of pushing at the moment, purely based on poor performances. So that's where my frustration is at, anyway. But yeah, before we finish, wanted to touch on just a couple of things, really. I mean, one was that the passing of Colin Addison, Swans manager, for only a 6 month period, really, between, I think it was September 2001 and March 2002. I was quite young in those days. In Pentrafford School, I just remember the dark days, really. It's probably the one manager where you think of more the off-field stuff than the on, and it's nothing to do with him as such. But I mean, there was such a tumultuous time, wasn't it, Andy? You'd probably know far more than me from that era, even though I was going, just wasn't involved in a lot of the politics stuff. But yeah, he was in charge for a very difficult time, really, wasn't he? And then when we came out of that, obviously he was relieved of his duties, really. But yeah, sad news, wasn't it? And someone that was, there through a dark period in our history.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think he was there just before, obviously, we went into administration the second time. So absolutely, he was there at a very tumultuous time. We complain about the quality of the squad now. It's yeah, that was a really really bad one. I think if we didn't have, actually, funny enough, we had one decent striker there in Mamadi Sidibe, who was banging goals in left, right, and centre for us. Probably kept our heads above water. And if it wasn't for him, then yeah, we could have been in real trouble. So I think we went to Stoke, with a couple of divisions higher at the time, that summer, as all our good players did at the time. If they had one good run, then they were out of the club. So yeah, I mean, he came into a very difficult situation. He steadied the ship. I remember going to Torquay, for example, as an away game back when we were at similar levels, and we got a decent result down there. So yeah, I mean, I think, and that was all down to the likes of Colin Anderson and Peter Nicholas was his assistant. I think they really did turn around from where we were previously. Yeah, I think as a club we did do him dirty a little bit, where I think we sacked him when we were in an administration, so we could avoid certain things. I think that was, one of Hugh Jenkins's first acts. That was to sack him, and I think then he brought in Nick Cusack, manager, later on, didn't he? Which didn't go particularly well, but. It's yeah, no, I think if you and I think the one thing, if you just look at sort of the messages after Carlson passed, is there's a lot of people who knew him from, not from just from those days, but he does a lot of work with Radio Wales in the past, for example, and I think everyone spoke so highly of him. He's so a good, great chap, a football man. So yeah, really sad to see him pass, and condolences to his family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think the on-field stuff doesn't stand out hugely from that time, but there was that one 4-0 win over QPR in the cup, which
It was.
that certainly stands out because they were in a higher division. I think it'd been the first time they'd been in the first round for a long time, and yeah, they certainly had a bit of a hiding. And as you mentioned there, Mamadi Sidibe was particularly a star on that occasion. But that was a good memory that we had. And I think when around the time where he left the club, we were on a bit of a run of about 5 undefeated. And so I always felt it was harsh. And I mean, Cusack came in, and look, with respect, we're talking about someone here that did a lot for the club over a long period, but his spell as manager certainly wasn't great. So you'd have thought that we wouldn't have been in the mess that we were with if Addison had remained in charge, really. So I think he's certainly a manager that it's hard to stick the boot into too much, because realistically, it was in through such a period that results didn't matter too much. But as you say, condolences to the family. And one last thing we wanted to touch on before was, it's funny, I've talked about the first round of the cup because the new Peterborough manager had a good win the other day, didn't he? And it happens to be Luke Williams, beating Cardiff in his first game in charge. I mean, from my point of view, I wish him well. I hope he does well. I mean, I think that it did seem to lose his way here, but at the same time, didn't really have much backing. And I'd like to think that if he'd had the level of backing that the current manager has, that he would be doing a bit better. But that's another story. But it's good to see him back in, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely, and obviously great for him to come back into football. He seems a genuinely nice guy. I mean, Bristol Airport's loss is Peterborough's gain for sure, and no, I think it's great to see him there. Great first win, against obviously a massive club. Even survived 30 minutes against the mighty Ruben Colwell. So fair play to him. the new Messiah. So, but yeah, no, great to see him there. Genuinely good guy. Hope he does well. Peterborough, a good club. So I think it's a good fit. Yeah, I mean, it obviously didn't work for him here, especially at the end. I think things were spiraling. I think that was generally a sacking that had to happen when it did. You could see we were done at that point. Did he have the backing that other managers have had, especially Sheehan this summer? Not even close. Would he have done better with it? I mean, undoubtedly, but we'll never know. But it wasn't as if he didn't have some backing, and I think it didn't go his way. After I think after the new year, we just completely spiraled, didn't we? And he couldn't really address it. So no, wish him well. Absolutely, he seems a genuinely good guy. So yeah.
Yeah, fingers crossed for him. I know Peterborough have not had a great season so far, but yeah, I think he's working with a good chairman. I think there. Hopefully there'll be some backing, and I'm sure he can pull them out of trouble. I mean, obviously he did very well at Notts County, which is partly why he got the opportunity down here. And yeah, I think that's quite a good appointment. And I hope it works out. So good luck to Luke Williams. But that's it for this week. Big thanks to Andy for joining me. I'm sure we will do something in the international break. Be very interesting to see if anything does happen down here. But we'll have a couple of games to discuss, obviously, and then we're into another hectic period, and of course we're into an international break with a couple of Wales games as well. So yeah, I'm sure at some point we will record, whether it's before the Wales games or not. I'm not sure at the moment, but we will see. But yes, thank you very much again for joining both of us, and we will be back soon. So bye for now.